Good morning, everybody. It's now 11 o'clock on the dot. We'll just wait for a couple more people to join in so that we have enough quorum to begin the session. And we should start off in the next 2 minutes. We will start with the seminar in another 1 minute. All right, let's begin. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to part two of the Meeple Labs Seminar. Today, we are talking about taking your game to market, and this is the second conversation in this series that we're having. We're specifically going to be talking about online distribution, and we have a very good balanced panel this morning. I'm going to now introduce the panelists. Before I do that, let me introduce myself. I'm Franz, and I host the Meeple Labs seminars. For those of you who are new to this, Meeple Labs was started off as a conversation that we had as part of our Game Design Labs WhatsApp group, and we just decided to take this online and to have a formal set of sessions where we could talk about board game design, board game distribution, publishing, manufacturing, everything that is on the minds of people who are getting into the space or people who are already in the space and want to make things better and grow the industry here in the country. So, having said that, I'm going to move into introducing our panel for this morning. So, uh, yep. So I'm going to start off with Gnanesh. Thank you for joining us this morning, Gnanesh. For those of you who don't know him, he's the founder of Gnaan Pitara, and he's the designer of Filmie, the hilarious Bollywood game. I'm sure this is one of the games that you've seen quite frequently on Amazon itself. For those of you that have attended MeepleCon, this has been one of he was presenting at one of the stalls, and you would have noticed a lot of people playing the game and having a lot of fun and laughs around the stall. The game is truly very simple and absolutely hilarious. Uh, so Gnanesh is also a chartered accountant, and he's the founder of a career guidance platform called Gnaan Education. Our second panelist is Nikita Mathur Zatakia, and she's the founder of NMC Games, and she's the game designer for Dive Master. Again, one of the games that we've recently been seeing on the game design group. For those of you who are part of that group, Nikita is an advertising and an interior design graduate, and she's very interested in product design, branding, brand strategy. And her journey with game design actually started last year when she was inspired to create the game Dive Master, which is a game about cards. Um, And this is something that she actually took forward during the whole lockdown when things were running much slower on the other side. She actually went ahead, created it, and she's been able to set up a distribution network in a small way on Amazon as well as on nmzgames.com. And we're hoping to learn a lot about her in terms of the process that she went through, the pain points that she went through when she set up this entire distribution setup. Our next speaker for the day is Rakshith, and Rakshith is the founder at Toy Station. This is a company that has been in the while. That has been in the market for a long period of time. They were founded in 2013, and they were one of the first market sellers in our space to join players such as Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, and even Paytm later on. They've diversified into multiple categories. So they have toys and games, and beyond that, they've also got home care and baby care and kitchenware. They own 3 trademarks in their name, and they're currently working towards exclusivity tie-ups as well as bringing their own brand products, which would get manufactured in the country. And last but not the least, we have Venkat on the panel. So uh, Venkat is the co-founder and the chief operating officer for Luma World. And for those of you who are familiar with the Indian board game industry, Luma World is a very, very well-known brand and a very, very well-known name. They create some fantastic games for kids, which are in particular towards the edutainment sector. And Venkat by education is an engineer, and he's also an entrepreneur. He's an educator by passion and a gamer at heart. So that's really, really inspiring to know that he has all these various different skill sets. And a little bit about Luma World. So Luma World typically focuses on game-based skill development, which is something that is really picking up globally as well now. And at their core, what they try to create is learning with relevant skills for young learners, and the learning by itself is subliminal. So it's not something that's explicitly stated. So what they do is they try to go beyond the basics and to add in a wow factor to learning. So welcome all the 4 panel members, and having said that, we will now move into the meat of this discussion. Let me look at the number of people. We are currently at 20 people on the board, and we are expecting more people to join in shortly. I will start off with the first session for the day, and the way that the session is structured is we're going to have 2 45-minute segments. In the first one, we're going to be looking at how do you set up for distribution, what is it that you require, how do you define those critical audiences, and we'll go across the board, both with people who have newly joined the market as well as guys such as Luma World and Toy Station who've been in the market for a very long time and are very, very experienced in this space. So I'm going to start off with Gnanesh, and I'm now going to pull down the screen so that we're able to see everyone on the session. If you just give me a second. Yeah, so we should be able to see about everybody on the screen now. I'll start off with Gnanesh, and Gnanesh, this question is for you. If you could tell us a little bit about what inspired you to choose the distribution networks that you chose when you started, when you were first releasing Filmie to the market. Gnanesh, you're muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Hi, Franz. Hi, Franz. Thank you for the introduction and good morning to everyone. Is the audio audible now?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay. So, Franz, online was not like an inspiration. When we started Filmie, we tried everything which was there. So, in fact, I was very keen on going in physical brick and mortar retail distribution, because I always believe that online is 1 to 5 to 10% of the Indian market, whereas the major market is out than physical. And people advise me that you should start with Amazon, you go online. But I was always not very serious with that idea because I really didn't see that through Amazon, you can really make it big. I mean, that was my perspective. And yet the fact was that it's very easy to get started with Amazon. So you just need product and product photographs and descriptions, and you get, you are instantly loaded online. So all you need is you need a GST number. If you have that, then you begin. And online sales started getting traction as we got listed on Amazon. So on the other end, when we were trying to reach physical retail, there were a lot of hurdles. So they first of all, nobody wanted to take the risk of stocking a new type of product because games are very nascent. So they want, like we discussed on the group also, that they want very typical games which are sold. Second issue, came with pricing. As a first timer in making a game, I was not aware about the margins, the MRP, the cost, how it worked. So, they demanded 50% margin on sales, that is 100% on cost, and which was like unimaginable to me. Like, so there were a lot of difficulties, resistance in physical retail. They were not taking you seriously. They were not interested in taking the risk. They wanted credit. If they don't sell, they wanted to give you the stock back. So they go away from the terms, etc. So, and most of the times, you go and approach them, they don't even entertain you sometimes. I also tried to organize retailers like Hamleys, and Crosswords. And, they always give you some excuses, okay, that, okay, we need, a portfolio of products, or, we only deal with big brands. So there were always roadblocks. Whereas Amazon, from day one, we started. And fortunately, Filmie got organic sales in the first 2-3 months. So we had that IGDC Hyderabad immediately after we launched. And then we had MeepleCon, and which also lent some awareness to the game. And by December end, I had got, like, we launched in October end last year. October end, and by December end, I got the confidence that, the product is picking up. So online work, other channels, I really tried hard, but they really didn't work. We also had, but I think those are the lessons I learned, that how do you deal with physical retail separately. And, now we've learned that also. So online was like the easiest option to start off, basically. That was the inspiration.
Super. Thank you for that. Let me ask you another question. When you started off Filmie, how did you define the audience that you wanted to reach to vis-a-vis the network that you chose? So in this case, of course, Amazon was a selection because offline clearly was not a good fit in terms of the kind of margins that you were receiving, and even in the kind of brands that they wanted. So did you go about setting and slotting your audiences before you went on to Amazon, or did you do this as a part of the discovery process when you had the game online and selling quickly?
So, Franz, the focus was never the distribution mode. The focus was always the product, what you want to bring out. Then the question came that how best can I distribute this product? And that's when we tried all the options. Also, the learning point was that the audience for something like Filmie, which is, let's say, some people of our age, plus minus 10 years, what I'll call it. So this bracket was shopping more online, is my guess or understanding, I will say. I don't find people that, okay, I'll go and buy a board game which is for adults, 18 plus, brick and mortar retail store, because maybe both reasons, we're shopping more online. Second thing, these stores are not stocking such games in large numbers, whereas online you have the choices. So I think for a product aimed, and second issue was the price point. A lot of these retail stores, like Filmie is such a small box now, and nobody's interested to keep a 500 rupee game which is so small. Like when I went to retailers, they told me, why don't you make a box, 4 times the size, and from price point and target audience also, online was and is a better mode of distribution to reach the target audience. So target audience was never the focus, but yes, for Filmie, the target audience is people from let's say 17, 18 years to 35, 40. Anybody who will play Antakshari or games like that in group will play Filmie. So and online is perfectly targeting them also.
Got it. Perfect. And I'm sure with online, your box size, which was a hindrance with offline retailers, was an advantage, because
a lot of advantage. Correct.
Perfect. Super. Thank you so much. I'm going to move to the next panelist and get their views. So, Venkat, I'd like to bring you in over here, because on one hand, Gnanesh has recently stepped into the market and has had some level of success. I'd like to hear about how Luma has managed to sort of build up their online network over the past couple of years, and which are the channels that really work for you guys.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Um, so, Franz, I think that's quite uh, a complex question when we look at it. Primarily because COVID has changed a lot of things that we had in mind initially to do it. So, I'm going to answer that in two parts, right? I want to go back to the first bit, which is the audience aspect, which for us, especially because we're making a kids product, it becomes a duality almost because the person using the product most likely is going to be the kid or friends and things like that, but the person purchasing is most likely going to be a parent. We would like educators, for example, in the West, educators do procure products for their classrooms, which is not as prevalent as India. In India, it's more about the school procuring something, right? So our initial goal was always to use the school as a route for B2B2C. So really, give it to them and then move forward. Online was always the secondary medium to reach parents directly. But COVID has changed things about, and now we want to get to parents directly, which was one of the reasons that we had to really change the way the product looks and feels in order to make it a more B2C focused product, right? Um, from the online distribution side, I think I agree with Janish that Amazon is, at least as far as we go for our product, it's the biggest market that is there, because they pump a lot of money for marketing. You don't need to do things like that. Like even now, if you search for Luma World, even before any of our SEO things come up, it's an Amazon listing with its image and things like that that pop up. Because at the end of the day, they are paying money for traffic to go on their website, and it's always a big benefit for that. Um, the sign on process is easy. It's almost entirely electronic. A few things that I would recommend that we've realized over time is having a trademark or a brand page is extremely essential, something that we ourselves are stuck with, because well, trademark offices have been closed for the last 6 or 7 months now. So we have our trademark, it's approved, but we can't get the number. So Amazon is working around that as well. So they do listen to a lot of things that we have communicate to them. So having a brand page, I think, is very important, because people can come see all your products in one place, and it kind of gives like you have your own mini website within Amazon. I think that's one of the first things that, if you're planning to do a game, is think about the trademark registration process so that you can have your own little ecosystem on Amazon. The other thing is, of course, fulfillment by Amazon, which is FBA. I don't know how much people are aware about that, but we are finding that that is a great way to get more products out there. It might cost a little bit more, it might eat into your margins, but understanding the Indian buyer is important. They want everything immediately, right? If they can get it the same day, it works. When we put a product out there, Amazon by default puts your thing saying that, okay, it's going out in 7 days. So that's important as well. I find that having more SKUs definitely helps because it gives a wider reach to your audience. So in that sense, we have plans to have almost about 15 SKUs by the financial year end. So we have about six right now, plus four variants. Amazon allows you to cross list, which is excellent. So without talking too much about Amazon specifically, I just want to move on to one last point, which is the strategy that we employ is we want to be discovered almost everywhere, but we really pick and choose the places where our products fit into and can be bought. So apart from, let's say, Amazon and Flipkart, which are the major ones, First Cry is big because it's mostly kids oriented and a lot of parents are there. Um, by by nature, we find that there are other smaller, more boutique e-commerce marketplaces which really work for us. Places like the Nestery, the Square Bag Toys, and we don't mind listing it out there just because people can discover us. It's just eyeballs that you might get. You might not get the volumes that an Amazon or a Flipkart are giving you, but it definitely gets you noticed in multiple places because a lot of parents visit different e-commerce sites to kind of get the best deal. So from that perspective, I would say try and list it at as many places as you can, but focus your strategies for each one of them differently, and make sure that your audiences are there. If they don't buy from there, that's still fine, but at least get eyeballs. That would definitely help your product.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. And I think you've summed up quite a few critical points over here that will be very useful. I'd like to ask Rakshit, in fact, now. So Rakshit has a lot of specialization in the online distribution space as well. And like Venkat mentioned, there are multiple different platforms that you could sell on to ensure that you optimize your discoverability one and also your online sales as well. Rakshit, could you tell us a little bit about what are the various platforms that that Toy Station in particular has found to be valuable, and that Toy Station has found to be really good in terms of the growth that you've seen over the last couple of months during the COVID time, as well as during the last couple of years when we were not really hit by COVID, but when we actually saw online marketplaces coming up. Rakshit, you're on mute if you're speaking.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hi
Hi.
everyone. First and foremost thing, what I would like to say is we have a lot of creators and founders here who are the makers of the board games, and the kind of issues or the kind of the headaches they are facing in terms of distribution, be it online or be it offline, is going to be faced because you need a proper partnership with people who are well versed in this industry of distribution only. You cannot focus on both the creativity of your games as well as marketing and distribution of it simultaneously, because you cannot get the desired numbers what you're looking for. So what I would like to suggest is you would have to get at least a small tie-up with a player like Amazon, or you have multiple marketplace sellers like us, or anybody else who are basic focus is only on selling and increasing the numbers. What is the base required for your production, your marketing, and the growth of your company? That is the basis of all the things. Unless you start at least getting a break even of whatever you're doing, you cannot grow on developing the next games whatever you're planning for. I have seen multiple brands wherein they have started doing it, they tried the distribution on their own, and finally what happened, they were not able to even get the break even, and they had to close down their venture. So main thing is focus on the distribution. If you're focusing on online, try to focus on all the platforms available, be it Amazon, be it Flipkart, be it Snapdeal, and in each and every website you try to target your exact audience what you are focusing for. Say you're focusing on a preschool game, so kindly target your audience under the 3-year-old or 4-year-old age group, and try to hit it so hard that obviously your game is going to start flying off the shelves. And if it's an adult based game, you can focus it on 18 plus, specifically to that category. Obviously your games will start moving. So that kind of focused approach will definitely help each and every creator or manufacturer to build a brand online.
Interesting. So this is actually a new perspective about having a partnership for distribution. Rakshit, if you could tell us a little bit about what is the advantage of this, and secondly, how exactly does this work? So, of course, one advantage off the cuff that we can think of, like you mentioned, is that partner has already got the expertise to distribute across already existing platforms. So, if you could tell us what are the other advantages behind that, and how exactly is it does this that this partnership works? Because
Uh,
the forum that we have right now is are the kind of people that would usually have gone and tried to put their game directly on Amazon or directly on Flipkart and the like, except for maybe Luma World that would probably have experience in this space. So, for the benefit of our forum, if you could tell us a little bit more about how this works.
Okay. See, I have been in this industry for the past 15 years. So the thing I have studied is I have seen offline as well as online. And right now we have retail as well as online, both stores running. So I know both the industries and how each and every industry supports the other one. That is how the basic structure works. Say example, today we are working with Amazon with multiple replications of FBA. We have around covered 6 territories in India. So I have clusters of East, I have North, South, West, and Central India. And we are recently starting off with the southernmost part, even in Chennai. So that brings us to 6 clusters. Every creator cannot have so many clusters or such a big setup, because the number of SKUs what you'll have is very small, and you cannot have multiple GSTs and manage all the inventory to send it to different FCs, and again ensure that it is getting reaching the customer on that prescribed 1 day 2 day gap. It is the biggest headache, and that helps you a lot in getting the numbers what you desire. First. Second is, when your visibility on online improves and people are aware of your brand, people will go to your brick and mortar stores and start asking for the games. So that is another kind of brand awareness, where the second step of distribution happens. Automatically, your brick and mortar stores will also start stocking up your products. So that is a big advantage what you have.
This is quite an eye-opening bit, because I don't know how many of us have, at least for me, I don't think I've ever looked at seeing online as a platform for awareness that could then move to offline. Having said that, so I'll ask Nikita now, who's on the panel. So Nikita is fairly new to the game of distribution of board games, and she's recently self-published her game. Nikita, if you could tell us a little bit more, starting off with what were the hurdles that you faced, because that would then help us to sort of structure more questions that we could ask the rest of the panel. What were the hurdles that you faced when you started off trying to distribute your game? How did you progress, and how are things now?
Okay. Hi, Franz. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Um, I would like to say that, as I started with Dive Master, which was, I came up with the product first and not really the company, because I had a good design, I had a good product. I knew this game would work after playtesting and doing the design myself. So I knew I had the product. My hurdles were more about finding the right vendor to get the product out, because I did not know anybody in the industry. My background being in branding, brand strategy, and design, selling and distribution was not one of my main forte. So for me, finding out about this online and wherever I could get information from. So what I did was, once I had all my designs ready, I went on to GoDaddy, got a domain, made a website, and I knew that an e-commerce website was the starting point, because Amazon was something really far-fetched. I did not think about Amazon at the beginning. What I knew was all that I could do by myself. So I could create a website by myself. I could bring in the e-commerce bit, and that's also a challenge, because that also requires a lot of documentation. And since all of this was done during the COVID, when there was a lockdown everywhere, and getting um documents from the banks and all of that, and then connecting it to CC Avenue Gateway was another thing which I did not know, that this is what I'll have to do. So there was a lot of learning over there, as in what the gateway requires you to be. So I initially started off as an individual, and then gradually, as the product came out, it was launched in June this year. I realized that I require a GST, because you cannot have an e-commerce website in India without having a GST. So having a GST also meant that creating a current account. So all of this happened while everything was already there, while people were already buying the game. The awareness that I had to bring in was mainly through a lot of divers initially, because Dive Master is a very thematic game. It's a card game where it focuses on how you're diving, and the objective is to finish your dive first. So I had to bring out a lot of people who would be enthusiastic about such a game. And the target audience that I was looking at was primarily our age, in their 20s or 30s, who would enjoy such a game, something which is new and although it says it's 10 plus, I'm not looking at so many kids as my target audience to begin with, because that takes time. I would start with my age group, with my social circle, and whatever social media that I can, do in that platform. So it was all about creating a good Instagram profile, reaching out to as many people who would be finding this game interesting, bringing them to my website, which is nmzgames.com. That is the e-commerce website. Setting that up was really easy. I find GoDaddy as a very easy platform to work on, and make edits or bring people on it. So SEO optimization is another thing which can be easily done through this website. And so Amazon came in much later. It's been a month now since I've put the product on Amazon, and the response has been really great. So what I realized is that people who come onto my website nmzgames.com are people who probably have seen my Instagram profile or profile of the dive master, but that again is not a very wide audience. In Amazon, I get orders from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, all kinds of places. So those are the kind of audiences which I don't think I would have reached so easily. So that is definitely better. But Amazon was, again, I mean, as I said, GST is important for e-commerce. So was it for Amazon. And once you have the GST number, you have your product listings, and you're managing everything on your own, and it's very easy after that. So,
Wonderful. So if you were to say between your own site and between Amazon, Amazon is where you're seeing traction coming in, and you're seeing discovery to your site also happening via social media. And in fact, you added in a very interesting component over here of social media, which, while it's not part of the agenda, I think is an integral part of the overall online distribution. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to Venkat from Luma World and get an idea as to what exactly are they doing in terms of social media, because I see a lot of posts that Luma World does on both on Instagram, and there's a lot of activity that happens on WhatsApp as well. Venkat, could you throw a little bit of light on how you're using social media as a platform to enhance your online distribution, and uh, what is the specific area that you're seeing it directed to?
So, I mean, social media is absolutely necessary now to get eyeballs, right? Like, for example, there used to be a time when your games used to be, there used to be games out there. Like, for example, when I was growing up, how was the easiest way to know about a game? There's nothing on, TV, anything. You go to a store, you see a game, or a friend has got a game. You play it over there, and you're like, shit, I want it as well. But now it's so much different because there are other people creating content for you, and which is the biggest thing we want to leverage, right? For us to create the content, we do put a lot of effort. In fact, I would say about 50% of our time just goes to generate content, and the more diverse content, we can put it into different platforms. So Instagram is really big for us because we know there are a lot of parents there. There are a lot of people looking for things out there that would really click. It's a much more fast moving content platform, right? You can see posts, you can see videos, the stories. There's so many things that you can do. um, the other thing why primarily Instagram focuses, I mean, we focus a lot on Instagram is influencers. We find that a lot of parents are following, mommy bloggers, mom influencers. They do get a lot of information from there. And we really like to tie up with them, kind of get them to generate a lot of content. Something that we have been trying off late is a lot of these board game cafes or board game meetup groups. Currently, they can't leverage the fact that people. I mean, their customer audience is at home. They want to play games, but they can't go to a cafe. They can't actually meet up in large groups like they used to do before. So we try and kind of help them out by giving a lot of our products for them to generate the content. Supporting them on that perspective. Try and figure out a way that is mutually beneficial for both. What happens is we like to use social media as a gateway to people figuring out what our products are, right? Which I think is the main thing. It can't just be, okay, we give it to a mom influencer and she gets us 100 likes or 100 followers. It's not enough there. You have to go beyond that. People have to have the interest to see your product, which is the end goal for everything. So we try and leverage it further. They usually have close groups on WhatsApp and things like that we want to leverage over there as well. And create a lot of ancillary events right now that people are really looking forward to. For example, we've got this puzzle hunt, which might not be the core of things that we do, but it still focuses on game-based skill development, and we use that as a nice platform to get people introduced to gaming, and then kind of subtly push out and say, listen, we do this as well. So that forms a great ecosystem. It forms this good community base, which is happening on the sidelines while we are already selling our products. So it, it it helps in it's these small things that help. Like, I look at it as, sum of parts is greater than whole. So it's these small things that you really need to do for people to first know about your product. And we are still in the phase. It might be about 18 months in since, let's say, we first decided, okay, fine, this is our thing, we're going to test it out. Maybe 12 months since we actually launched our first product, to say that we are still in the discovery phase. People still need to find out what we do, what is Luma World, what are our products, and social media works wonders for that.
Got it. Have you had some experience in using the shop call to action that Instagram usually offers? And my second question is, within the sphere of all these activities that you do, what is maybe the one or two places, or rather, I would say, e-commerce shops that you direct your customers to, and where have you seen traction in actual purchasing being happening based on that?
Yeah. So the shop page is something that we haven't. So we don't have enough followers on Instagram, to be honest. We don't want to add those many followers. So shop is something that I think Instagram gives you on the basis of, let's say, the number of followers that you have and how you can do it. I would like to add something here, which is very important. Is we use a Shopify website, and what Shopify allows you to do is integrate your Google and Facebook pages to it, and automatically you get the shop option on your Facebook page, on your Google page. That's one of the main reasons why I would recommend people who are starting up to use something like Shopify. I know how good WordPress is, or Wix is for that matter, but Shopify, it's big on e-commerce because it allows you to cross-connect platforms, right? So now on our Google page, automatically we have a product showing up. On our Facebook page, we automatically have a product showing up. And it might not count for much, but it's still, we do still get sales from that. People clicking on it. If, in fact, we got a purchase directly from Facebook when we track it on Shopify and doing it. So the shop page on Instagram is something that we haven't tried out. So I wouldn't know, what's the traction with regards to that. Yeah. Sorry, and your next question was about.
So what was the space that you've seen the most conversions happening on? So while you've done all these activities on say WhatsApp or Instagram or any of the other platforms, what is the one e-commerce platform or the two e-commerce platforms that you've seen maximum conversion happening on as a result of all these activities that you've been doing?
So actually, I'm going to stick my neck out here and actually say WhatsApp, right? We are also, so something that you can see, the public can see, is that we are active on Instagram, we are active on various other places, but WhatsApp groups, communities, small communities that we are part of, when we post stuff out there, we get immense amount of traction. I think from a customer perspective, it comes down to the fact that it's a more personal bit of communication. When they ask us something, they can reach out to us directly. On Instagram, they do it as well. But WhatsApp is something that is more direct. It's more of a conversational platform, and Instagram is more of a discovery platform. I would like to separate it from that perspective, right? WhatsApp allows them to communicate with us, ask us questions, have that long drawn conversation before they make a decision. So a lot of these community groups, closed groups, we're part of like teacher tutor networks. So these small communities with 150, 200 members, ranging up to even, let's say about, as small as, 20, 30 members, ranging up to 150, 200 members. They go on our website. If not, we can see their journey going to our website and then maybe buying on Amazon, right? So they do that as well. They'll compare prices on our website, on Amazon. But we do find that they complete their journey, and WhatsApp works best for us, I would say, as a social media platform.
Got it. Got it. So there are a lot of questions that I'm seeing on the group. I will filter some of these. We'll take some of these towards the latter half of the session. There's an interesting one over here by Rahul Uttam Chandani, where he says when making our game and looking for distributors, he was advised to be careful because Indian games can get copied and launched for cheaper. Rakshith, if you could take up this question and let us know, because you've been in the space where you found partnerships for distribution. You've distributed multiple games for very big brands such as Hasbro and Kadu and Funvention and the like. So, if you could tell us a little bit about, what are the risks with working with distributors, and also what are the areas where you find that distributors bring an advantage of trust to the table?
See, first and foremost, I would like to take up this question wherein being the game being copied. The first and foremost thing that you've got to do is you've got to trademark your brand or the name of the board game, wherein nobody else can copy the name. Second and most important thing is get it copyrighted. Even though it's a kind of a little higher expense, it is a asset which are going to retain it for the end of your life, and nobody can actually literally copy your entire creation. So two main aspects: trademark and copyright. Once those two are in place, nobody can literally copy your game, nor can they try to tingle it here a bit of here and there, so that they cannot change the game. Also, you have every authority of that kind of a game. That is how big brands like Hasbro or Lego are doing. So nobody can copy it, nor can they use your creativity and make money out of it.
Got it. Thank you for that. So we are now at 11:42 on the clock. I'll take one more question before I sum up the session and before we move into the next segment. Um, Neha Manglik had a question. This was more related towards the requirements that are needed for distributing on Amazon apart from GST. So I'll pose this question actually to Gnaan. He's been in the space for a while, and I'm sure he would have faced a lot of these challenges as well. Gnaan, what is it apart from the GST certificate that you had to create that you faced as a hurdle on Amazon, and what did you see were the biggest challenges on getting your game in front of the market? So one of the things that Venkat mentioned was having a brand page. Did you do something like this, or did you do something differently that you could share with us and with this forum?
Okay, all right. So, see, as such, it's pretty easy on Amazon. There are no major hurdles. But yes, number one was when we went on Amazon, we realized they need a GST compulsory. So actually, the law in India states that for interstate sale of goods, you need GST even if you're within the limit of 20 lakhs. So what happens is because Amazon is a national platform, even if you're just a startup, you by default need a GST. So when we began, I didn't have a GST on my personal name registration at that time. So I used another GST which I had to sell the games, but the copyright was in my personal name, so trademark. So we could never create a brand page, what you were saying at that time. But I think now we are streamlining it, so now I'll be able to do that. But apart from GST, what you really need is, see, number one is a good product. Which, and by good I mean which is relevant to your target audience. So let's, we started with two products. We made Filmie, which was an entertainment game, and second, we brought out an educational game called Ups and Downs in December, one month and a half after Filmie. Ups and Downs just didn't pick up online, and Filmie just picked up online. Now there is not much that I could contribute to, either of the games, to differentiate. So the learning point was really what people want, also, in terms of what we were looking for. Second thing was online is the cost and the pricing element. I think as you start selling online, you'll just realize what are the average cost for various elements. See, when you sell online, what you take care is, number one is your commission. So all websites will charge you approximately 10% commission for listing online. Whatever they term it, but basically just for putting your product online, they charge you 10% commission. Then second thing will be your shipping cost. So shipping cost could vary from depending whether you're using the e-commerce website or other partners and the size of your box. So for Filmie, we had only one SKU really whether you're focusing on, and the size was small. An average shipping cost of Filmie was 50 to 55 rupees. So we absorbed it in MRP. And so for me, shipping cost has always been 10% of my selling price. So apart from listing commission of 10%, 10% goes in shipping cost. Then we gradually realized over a period that what we needed was advertising cost to be budgeted in, because apart, like from my experience, on an average we were spending about 200 rupees a sale on advertising, and the product was responding to ads. I wouldn't lie. So I think much later we realized that as you were advertising more either on Amazon or on social media, like Venkat said, the product was responding to ads. But again, I'll repeat that this really depends on whether your product is liked by audience and wanted by them. Otherwise, no matter how much I advertise. So we were getting an advertising cost of 150 to 100 rupees. Now that means if my game is selling for 500, another 20%, in fact rather more, 30% more are going in advertising cost. So we have to look for, and then we have GST, about 12%. So you have 12% GST, 10% shipping, 10% commission. That's 32. Plus your advertising cost, 20 to 40% depending. So that's around 50 to 55%. So 55% of your MRP is going to straight go away. It's not going to come in a hand, even that is cash flow. It's just not going to come in a hand. So now what you have is the balance 50%, to deal with. So now what is the manufacturing cost, and then what is the margin that you want? And as a startup, a lot of activities you do in-house, like packing, sorting, various things. So what about cost for that and overhead? So one real learning point was the costing and pricing in terms of covering up for all these elements, and also is the price suitable for the Indian market. You're going to price a game at 1,500, 1,800 rupees, but is your target audience wanting to spend that amount? Because when I go to a retail store to buy a game, people want to buy a game for 150 rupees, 200 rupees outside in the market. And they don't mind buying duplicate. Taking one question which Rakshith answered, our duplicate games, I had the same issue. The first time I went to a shop and I knew that retailer that, to take Filmie, like, can you just keep it for a few days and let's see how it responds. And he told me that, I have this distributor. He gave me his name and he's like, he makes the sales of thousands of crores, and he makes duplicates of all games. And, he has a network of 700 retail stores. So the moment he removes any SKU, immediately, he sells 2 copies. In a store also, he sells 1,500 copies. So he tells me, Tera game, usko do kar. I bola, nahi yaar, please keep me away from him. I got so scared that, either my game will just get copied. So that same fear I had consistently. And even now I fear that, one retail store which I approached took interest in my product. And I went to him, and then I saw his whole store was filled with all duplicate products, all leading brand Sequence ka, Q nikal ke Sequence kuch aur bana diya. So all, duplicate products were selling. And I spoke to him and he said, give me your product without MRP. So again, I wanted to do things in the right manner, and, he was asking me to do, so I was not feeling very comfortable again. So I didn't have great experience with some retailers out there and their practices also. And I always had this fear, which I believe because, even copyright, as you've discussed before, that, we don't know how much copyright can protect you till you go and really fight it out. And which startup is going to fight it out. So these concerns are serious. So from that point of view, online was always safer. Well, I believe, yeah. So basically in online, a good product, keep an account. Accounting is very important. See, with online and physical difference, in online, you have GST compulsory, which means you have to record every sale detail. With Amazon, it's easy because they maintain your accounts. One hurdle with listing with multiple platforms is that every platform has a different manner of accounting your data. And at the month end, because GST is monthly return, every month end you have to sit with returns. Different platforms have different way of invoices, different way of accounting. That compilation becomes a big task if you don't have support. Beyond the point, you definitely need some kind of professional support with a chartered accountant or somebody else who can handle your GST matters, because you have to claim your input credits for advertising costs, for manufacturing costs, even all the fees that Amazon applies you, so to claim the inputs, you have to give details of state-wise sales. So accounting is third important aspect in online sales. And fourth is really learning and understanding online and social media advertisements, how it works, like Venkat said. So, which platforms work with, like, for example, Instagram was a good platform for us because of the target audience, the age group of Instagram. What is the average cost per click coming to you? How many impressions is leading to some clicks and how many clicks is leading to your sale? So that comes, when you spend, let's say, some 50,000-60,000 rupees in advertisements over some 2-3 months and on various platforms, starting from, so we tried everything, we tried all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Google ads. So the first time I did, I had high hopes on Google. The first time I did a Google ad and we did a 3,000 rupees budget. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get something out of this. And I just started the ad and realized that one day my budget of 15 and got exhausted, and I was scared. What happened? Like in 1 hour, Google gave me thousands of clicks and nothing just happened and the money got, exhausted. So these are learning points, So what we just realize is, like again, if you advertise on Amazon US, we try to list on US and you advertise on Amazon India, it's a huge difference. Because if India is costing you 2 to 3 rupees a click, US is going to cost you $1 to $2 a click, and that is, 30-40% of your margin, 20% of a game cost. So what are the learning points was, it's expensive to advertise on mature markets and mature platforms. Like Google is a mature platform. Google one click will cost you 100 rupees if you want a quality click. Same way, Amazon US is going to cost you minimum 50 rupees a click, if you want a decent click. Whereas in India, I can manage at a cheaper cost and I can have a bit of 3 rupees. So all these are learning lessons. So again, advertising on social media is also very important. Yeah, so broadly, I think, and next is product images and how you present your product. Like again, you said Venkat said a brand page. Yes, what are your product images? The customers can be nasty, with two things: with returns and with reviews. So if they don't like something, and if they don't trust you, they'll give you a really bad review, and that will really affect you. If you come down below 4 stars, it can affect your search results. So, so yeah, and then there's no way you can really deal with customers. Like my first return which came back to me was a customer, the box was open, the cards were folded, the game was clearly played, the cards were shuffled. And I got so upset with that return that, I actually wrote a letter to the customer that, please be careful because when you return such product, we bear the cost. And I got emotional at that time. I mean, gradually then realized that it's just a part of the process and, learn to accept it. But initially, returns were fewer. As we started advertising more, returns also increased. Every day I get one return email, for example, So, once a product didn't reach because of Amazon, we called the customer and then we ensure the product reached him. But the customer has called us, we called him and said, no, Amazon told us the product is free. You can take it home. So I can't say anything. I called up Amazon, this is what customer said. Amazon said, no, we didn't do anything. And the Amazon seller support is separate from customer support. So there's no link again. So, the point is you can't really do much with dealing with customers, after a point. So just, don't advertise a product which is what it is, which what a customer wants, because the moment you have to force too much, they just return it. So these were the broad learning points from, online experience, Franz.
Very, very interesting. In fact, these are quite a few points that I'm going to take up in the coming session that's there. And it's very interesting that, these have just come out on their own. For example, things like returns, things like reviews, these are some things that are already impacting a lot of sellers that are already present within our ecosystem. I know Dice Toy Labs, for example, has had very similar experiences like this. Falgun has spoken a lot about return and especially cases where customers have returned things back after having played the game or with missing components as well. And that can be quite a bit of a loss. And I'm sure that that's accounted for in, the risk element of cost of sale. So having said that, I'm going to quickly sum up the session now and then move to the next one. We've had a very, very productive 50 minutes in this last session where we spoke about certain spaces as to where do you start from when you distribute in the online space. We saw multiple different elements. So I'm going to start off with what do you do before actually going ahead and putting your game and your product out there for distribution. The one thing that's absolutely needed is a GST number. If you have to sell anything online, you will need a GST number, whether you're selling it on Amazon or whether you're selling it on your own website, for the simple reason that a GST number is required even to integrate a payment gateway. So that's something that is important. The next thing that you should ideally be doing is ensuring that you have a trademark or a copyright of the game. Now, in our past session where we've had with IP councils as well, we've seen that it's difficult to copyright. It's impossible rather to copyright the mechanism of a game. But what could be copyrighted is the artwork. You could copyright the logo, the name, certain things like that. And by getting these trademarks and these copyrights registered in your name, you're sort of mitigating that risk of allowing people to duplicate. However, that does not completely mitigate the risk, because what happens is no matter how hard you try in a market such as India, you will have distribution distributors who are very, very capable of going out and copywriting certain or rather duplicating certain things that you've already copyrighted anyway. And the only way that you can stop them is by getting into a long drawn battle, which may not be for everyone. The next thing that you need, and this is the more obvious space, is you need to have a very good product. If you have a good product, it is something that will, as in the case of Gnaan Pitara, it started selling off on its own. It started gaining traction on its own. With the case of Luma World as well, there's a lot of products that they've done. Even with NMZ games, this traction that has come up because that game has a very particular niche segment, and it's also been play tested well. So your product is also going to be absolutely important. And then we spoke about the various platforms that one could use for online distribution. The first one to consider is a set of marketplaces. So marketplaces could be of the type of Amazon or Flipkart, and then you even have of first cry. You have even smaller players in the market such as Nestri, and there are many other different platforms, and you might want to consider different reasons for listing your product there, because it's not just about selling the product online, it's also about getting your brand out there and getting your brand awareness in the market. And that's a very interesting point that even Rakshith brought out. He said that it's not just about having your brand online, but online can also take your brand to the offline stores, because as your game gets recognized, you will have people going to stores and asking for those particular games. Even on within the marketplace, there are certain other niche areas that you could use. So you could use a brand page, for example, on Amazon, though there are certain intricacies to getting that done, because you need to have your trademark, you need to have your copyrights in place, and there are certain restrictions that Amazon has to ensure that there are only brand or other branded sellers that are creating those pages. But once that's up, that can also lead to a good traction. Also, marketplaces such as Amazon offer fulfillment, and that is again a very key part of the online distribution process, because when you say, for example, fulfilled by Amazon, that's where your product gets actually shipped out to the Amazon warehouses as well, and the distribution process is much faster. On the downside, that can skyrocket the kind of shipping costs and the kind of commissions that you're paying as well. By and large, you're looking at an overall set of 55% of your MRP. That's what Gnanesh said, which includes your shipping costs, your commission, your advertising, and things like that. And this is not very different from the kind of numbers that we've been hearing, even from players such as Dice Labs and the like, where we were talking about this in the last couple of seminars as well. The other model that you could go with, which Rakshit suggested, was the partnership model, and this is really interesting because what you do here is you don't take the headache of fulfillment or shipping costs or advertising costs upon your head. You get in touch and you partner with somebody who is already very, very familiar with this space and an expert in the space, and that can help you to take your game out to market much faster than what you would be able to do as an individual. There's also doing your own e-commerce site. So with Nikita as well, she created her own e-commerce site. And the challenge with that, of course, is also to ensure that you direct traffic over there. So social media becomes sort of another storefront. I call it a storefront not because you have a purchase button over there, but because that is a gateway to the actual store that you have and to the actual purchase that a user ends up doing. But again, this could be capital intensive. It could also be resource intensive, like Venkat said. There's a lot of effort that has to go into building that community, ensuring that you have the right kind of people, the right kind of content set up so that you can then push people into purchase. And of course, there are also more personal mediums such as WhatsApp, for example, where you could actually reach out to customers and then direct them to your storefront. And this, of course, again is fairly effort intensive, because you have to put that effort into creating that community and ensuring that you interact with them on a regular basis so that you're able to reach them very quickly. So wonderful. That sort of sums up our first session for the day. We have about 31 minutes on the clock remaining, and I'm going to use those 31 minutes to talk about certain aspects with the panel on what they faced with online distribution. I'm just going to quickly share my screen so that we have a summary of what we're going to talk about in this coming session. And we are specifically going to refer to case studies here. We'll talk about advertising as we started off in the last 10 minutes of the previous session. We'll talk about returns and reviews because those are the one area that I'm sure everybody is curious about, and it's still very, very difficult to control it. And the final thing that we'll talk about is the seller support. So this will sort of cover, what exactly works within the space and what is it that our panelists have experimented with over the last couple of months. And we'll talk about the good and the great and the not so great experiences that they've had. I will start off with Nikita here. So, Nikita, if you could tell us a little bit about how things have been picking up for you on Amazon. Have you been advertising on Amazon? And what is it that you're seeing in terms of the returns and the reviews process on Amazon or even on your own site, where you have people who buy games and then may want to return it, either for genuine purpose or for dubious purposes? If you could tell us a little bit about your experiences here.
Yeah, sure. So, my experience so far has not been that bad. I have not had any returns or bad reviews. The reason for that could be because on Amazon I'm fairly new. Although there have been quite a few sales, one thing I've not been able to generate is reviews from those genuine sales. So I have some people, what they do is they can tell their friends or family to buy from Amazon so that your product becomes more visible and more popular. But I did not have to do that. I did that more with the nmzgames.com to buy on that platform. So the good thing about the nmzgames.com was that I could get their information regarding, like getting their emails, getting their phone numbers or their addresses. So there was always a way where I could, do email marketing through those emails that got. So getting reviews on that website was a lot easier. On Amazon, I am still not sure as to how to get the reviews because I don't know these people, and Amazon doesn't allow you as a seller to directly contact them or speak to them or anything. So I am still waiting there. The only way is whatever information you have, whether you have their phone number or email ID, you directly contact them and ask them for genuine reviews, genuine feedback, and whatever I could, even if whatever review it was that I got from there, then I put that on social media or on the website, to show that these are the reviews that I've gotten. So that's been my experience so far.
Interesting. Also, in terms of seller support with Amazon, have you had good, great, not so great experiences?
It's been fairly good because I found it very convenient wherever if I'm stuck on their seller platform, because there are a lot of things when you're new to Amazon as a seller. There could be a lot of things that are very intimidating because there are many terms that you've not heard of before. So for me, even while applying for the seller account, there's something called as getting a product ID or a product number, which if you're not a big company, you're not a big brand, you don't have a product code, you don't have a barcode on your game box, so you have to apply for an exemption. So that's basically an ASIN number or a UIC number or a code. Most of us will not have this. So you have to apply for an exemption, and once that is done, then is it that everything is approved. And everywhere along the way, wherever I found a difficulty in uploading something or not knowing about something, there's always been that option of calling the customer care, the seller care, and they help you out fairly well, with everything. And I guess there's a
Got it.
seller university also, so you can look at a lot of those videos and they show you exactly how you can click on this and you reach here and what are the things that you should be doing. So that is also very helpful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rakshit, I'd like you to step in over here. In your last, 10, 15 odd years of experience in the online space, how is it that you have seen returns and reviews sort of affecting the whole online distribution network, as well as helping people take the decision on whether they should continue with that network or whether they should do things a little differently? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, in terms of overcoming returns for your products, the first and foremost thing required is ensure that your product is proper description, proper imaging is uploaded in the websites. So before the customer decides to go in for your product, he has to properly understand the game, and only then he makes a decision to buy it first. Second is, if in case you have your trademark registered, you can go ahead with say example of Amazon. You can get yourself registered under the Amazon brand registry. Once that is in place, you can go ahead with making the listing with A plus content. That is the most important thing what is required for a branch to grow. So that A plus content will include having a video of how the game is being played. In case you have your own websites, like how Nikita mentioned, you have a website of your own, and you could have made a few videos of how the game is being played, and you could have uploaded to the YouTube, and people get a lot of visibility through YouTube. So that's the same YouTube link can be used to prepare your A plus content on Amazon, or be it even Flipkart nowadays has started the same kind of working, wherein you can get a video uploaded on the product page. So before the customer makes a decision to buy it, he can literally see how the game is played, and only then it gets converted into a sale. So this helps in minimizing the returns to a greater extent.
Got it. The second thing, and this is one of the challenges that I'm sure a lot of the sellers have, is how do you get reviews? So on Amazon, we don't own the customer data as the distributor. So how do you mitigate this? How are you able to get reviews for products that you send out into the market? What would be your recommendations in that
Yeah,
case?
there are actually two things here. We have actually again tied up with a third party service provider for two things. One is getting reviews as a seller. Seller reviews is another important aspect other than the product reviews. So these people are the providing services for getting reviews for the products you sell, as well as the seller reviews. So they are dedicated only to get reviews from verified orders or verified customers in a genuine way, in which Amazon accepts it. You have a lot of people providing fake reviews, which any marketplace is going to reject the reviews, as well as it can lead to a problem of the product getting delisted as well from the platform.
Mm. That's this is also new. This is something that I did not know of. Very, very interesting. In terms of seller support, what has been your experience with the online marketplaces, Amazon, Flipkart, FirstCry? And how is it that what is the best way to sort of deal with the seller support? Because from what we've been hearing across the board is that seller support is usually not very good if you have multiple SKUs that are present in your portfolio.
See, out of my experience, to be frank, today we have around 5,500 SKUs. What I'm doing today, 5,500 odd SKUs, and you should have over 75% of the knowledge how to overcome the problem, and leave the 25% with the seller support to help you out. If you only rely on seller support, they're only going to give you copy paste answers, and end of the day, you're not going to get a problem solved.
Got it. So what would that 75%, consist of? What would you recommend that, as sellers that we keep in mind that we are ready to answer the customer on, or that there are certain actions that we should be ready and willing to do?
See here, seller support comes in picture for multiple problems. It can be a returns, it can be a listing problems, it can be your product detail description issues, it can be your fulfillment center issues. There's a lot of topics to be covered under seller support issues which they support. And you have marketplaces wherein other than the seller support you have other escalation forms wherein which overlaps the seller support and connects you with the correct department who gets your job done quicker, rather than just rely on seller support who are just here to answer your questions, and whatever data is sent to them from their higher authorities they give it to you, that's it. So you will have to have certain forms of communication with these marketplaces or their categories. Say example of Amazon, I can tell you there are multiple departments. Be it your logistics, there is a separate department. Your category departments, your listing departments. So each and every department you need to contact, you should have a loop wherein you can overlap the seller support and get in touch with them to get your problem solved. Other than that, your problems are not going to get solved sooner.
Got it. Got it. Also, have you seen this anomaly where whenever advertising is increased, there's an increase in return that takes place, and what could possibly be this reason?
No. I don't believe that way. Advertising actually leads to increase in your sales. How we focus is we work on a ROI basis. There's a certain return on your investment basis where we focus on ads, be it your sponsored ads, be it your brand campaigns, and the more spending is happening on your ads, the sales numbers keep increasing. Returns increase in this proportion where there is a slight error in terms of listing your product in the images or in the description. Only then your returns increases. If the customer has not understood the game, if the customer has misunderstood the game, or there is a scenario wherein the customer has used the game, he gets bored and he returns the product, that is the last option. But the first two are inversely proportional. The wrong understanding leads to higher returns of the game.
Got it. There's also a very interesting question over here. It says if somebody is used fulfilled by Amazon and a return happens and the product comes back with say a missing part or a missing piece, how will he know why it was returned? One, second, how will he know if there is if there's a missing piece that's there? And secondly, will Amazon, in the case of another sale happening, will they ship that same product back that the customer has sent as a return?
Okay. See, the first aspect is in FBA, when a return happens, the return reaches the Amazon warehouse. There, you are intimated that a return is being accepted from a customer. The customer has certain set of options to click or to select while returning the product. So you will not be able to exactly understand the correct reason, but you will just get a brief scenario. But you will never get to know, because Amazon doesn't share data of returns, why the customer has returned. And in case it is FBA, the customer details are also not shared with you. So you cannot contact the customer directly either through his email or mobile number, nothing. You will have no contact with the customer. So in that case, what happens is if the customer selects for a return, he can directly return it and refund his money. And in case he wants a replacement, he can opt for a replacement, wherein Amazon will immediately ship another product of the same game and return the damaged product back to you.
Interesting. Very, very good to know. Venkat, I'd like to ask you, in terms of the whole return and reviews piece, how you guys at Luma World handling this? You have different platforms. You've got both the marketplaces, and as I understand, you're selling through the Luma World website as well. So how is it that you're taking care of returns and sort of mitigating the risk to reduce the number of returns that you're getting? And secondly, what are you doing to get more reviews for your products to ensure that you have a lot more customers talking about their real experiences with their products and influencing others?
Yeah, I think Rakshith made a very good point when it came to that. One is the kind of descriptions that you put in, the details that you need to do, informing the customer before they make a purchase. I think that's very important. So we find that in fact, something that we were concerned about right at the start, even before we began selling, is what are we going to do when we start getting returns? But surprisingly, we hardly get any returns. I think so far for all the products that we sold, we must have got about 2 or 3 returned, and that too, it was on, I think all three were on Amazon, or 2 were on Amazon and 1 was on Flipkart. Um, I think the amount of information that you put there for the customer to make an informed purchase is very important. I think the other aspect that a lot of manufacturers or publishers ignore is the kind of information you put inside the product as well, right? How do you actually guide them to, so that they have all the information at their fingertips? We put a lot of QR codes and we put a lot of support content so that if they are stuck somewhere, they can still do something else. Manufacturing defects are something that you can't avoid, right? It's an error percentage. You can reduce it by picking the right vendors and doing all of that. But I think a lot of, at least the three returns that we had, it was more about customers unable to find something in the game that they expected out of. So putting that information is important. I think over here I would like to make a point that I think maybe it's a very Indian thing, or it's a cultural aspect. I know that other countries also have it, that we're really scared about people stealing our IP, right? And what that does in return is it stops us from releasing information that might aid a purchase by a customer. So, for example, even we did it. Like, we still do not put our game tutorial videos out for public view. But then we've realized that it's a question of what is the lesser evil I would like to pick, right? Am I more worried about someone copying my game, or am I more worried about a customer not understanding the game and possibly seeing my video and then making a purchase? So that information is so crucial. At least this is my personal belief, people will really start copying your games only when you get to a point where you're selling, let's say, 100,000 copies. That's when you're really worried about, okay, is it going to happen or not? So that information that the customer gets to make his purchase is very important. That will definitely reduce returns. Both pre-purchase, whatever platform they're buying from, even the retailer, let's say if you're doing physical distribution or physical retailing, for them to, like, we even give some of our retailers script on what to tell the customer when he buys, right? So that kind of information is important. In the box, I think a lot of people ignore that. Try and put a lot of content, both video as well as audio if you can, if video is not a possibility. Apart from text content, make it more visual, diagrammatic, so that people can easily see flowcharts and they can understand how to play your game. Put bullet points. Just imagine if you were a user and you were to sit there, what kind of information would you need, right? So I think that plays a huge role in terms of the returns aspect. With regards to reviews, we pick and choose our battles. Sometimes, even though we have higher margins if people buy on our website, it's a no-brainer. People directly buy on us when they say, "Hey, I'm interested in buying your game. This is my address. Can you ship it to us? I will Google Pay the amount to you." We're like, great. That gives us the best margins. But what is the general percent of people putting reviews on Amazon, right? It's 3% to maximum maybe about 6% if you're a popular game. So you need to sell, obviously, I mean, doing the math, you need to sell 100 boxes for you to get 1 or 2 reviews, 3 reviews max. If your game is really popular, people really love it, exceeds expectations, it might be 6 reviews. That's the kind of numbers that we have seen, and I think that's really what you would see on the internet as well, of people talking about. You can go the other route. You can kind of ask customers. We have done that as well. Like, please, can you buy from Amazon? And just put a review out there for us. It will really help us if we know the customer personally can do it. You can coax them to do it depending on what marketplace you feel is really going to give you more traction. So I mean, it's a question of what really you want back. If you do want the reviews, now Amazon allows you to do verified reviews, right? It's a verified purchase and you can review there, but you can also do unverified reviews. You can still put a review without actually having bought from Amazon. Flipkart, on the other hand, I don't think allows you to do that. So it's not necessary that the verified purchase tag, of course, does wonders for your product on Amazon, but that doesn't stop you from reaching out to customers afterwards. Get feedback, request them to do that. Maybe tell them that put a review on Amazon and I will give you another discount coupon for buying on my website. It's a win-win for you at the end of the day. So there are things like that that you can try as well. I really feel that reviews make a big difference um, to a customer making a purchase. It's part of that informed decision process. It's very important. You can't see the return information, so it doesn't really matter about okay how many products are returned. Customer can't see that. Customer can definitely see reviews. So request people, even if they're buying on other places, to at least review it on Amazon. It might not be a verified purchase tag, but it'll still have reviews. And customer mentality, that's the second point, which is very important, is someone has left a review, there's a bigger chance that someone who's bought from Amazon might leave a review again. So, and of course, on in your seller account, you have the option of sending an email out to the customer and requesting for a review. Amazon does that itself, but you can again do that. It's a button click, you just send it out, sends out the generic email that Amazon does requesting for a review. I would highly recommend for every sale that you do it. So yeah.
Perfect. That's a very good recommendation. And in fact, I'd like to back that up with some data of some recent purchases that I made on Amazon as well from some of the local sellers. What they usually do is they send a small little card that says, thank you for purchasing, and would you be as kind as to review us because we are a local seller and things like that. And I think some things like that also do appeal to the heart as well, especially with the whole self-reliant India concept that's going around these days. And I think that using that physical medium as well, if possible, does really help because I myself have put out a couple of reviews based on that. I'd like to ask Gnanesh as well in terms of reviews. Is there anything that you've done differently, or that you've innovated in to get more reviews on your products? We already spoke about returns and how returns sort of impact. So I'd like to get your point of view in terms of reviews as well.
So, Franz, the same three suggestions which have come up. One is initially when we started off, we started requesting our friends and people who purchase the game to review. But also, we found out that Amazon does not allow you to get in too many reviews. So if I tell 15 people to review suddenly, it blocks most of the reviews. It shows only one or two. So you can't really try to artificially or just on your request try to push reviews. You have to be patient with that. But yes, we tried, asking people who know, who we know to review. Then second thing was what Venkat said. Amazon gives you a button to ask users for reviews. So we, after 4 days to I think 30 days, that is the range from the date of purchase. You can ask a user for reviews. So you should not miss that date if you really want to seek reviews. So you go to order details and there's a button to request a review. And then you request a review and the email goes to customer. That does gives us a review. And third thing was we started sending, like you said, a small sticker we put on the game box saying that, follow us on Instagram and please review us if you like a game. And so these three steps we took, to get more reviews. I'm not sure what more can you do, I mean, unless you exhibit your game at some exhibitions or MeepleCon and where you're in direct touch with customers. Or we discussed, like, again, doing events is an important part to promote your game. See, the idea is to bring the word out. How much can you spend on advertisements? If you can, great. Otherwise, all these events. So when you meet customers, you ask them for reviews. So yeah.
Got it. Nikita, anything that you'd like to add before I start summing up the rest of the session? So how is it that you approach the review process as well? I know you're fairly new to the game, and that personal touch is something that I'm sure goes out with a lot of the games that you ship.
Yeah, definitely. Because every game that is shipped does have that message that which says thank you, and then the options for the customer to where they can put out the review and genuinely share their feedback, which is very important. Because even in understanding how your game is doing, the best way to gauge is from people who may not know you personally, and they are really whether they're really enjoying the game or not. So getting as much information is really important. There are a lot of things that I actually got to know over here which I didn't know, about the order button and like where you can request a review from the customer. So I think that's what I'm going to try the next time.
Fabulous. So we are now at 2025 on the dot, and I'm going to quickly sum up our sessions. If there are any more queries that we could address. So there was one query, and this was related to the uptake of the game when it's just come to market. I'm just searching for that. So Santosh had this question where he said if one of our panelists could talk about maybe percentage-wise, how has the uptake for the game been, say from the first set of sales numbers to the subsequent sales numbers. So how do you essentially look at your growth path and the stabilization of that growth path? Is it like a steady curve that goes up and then plateaus, or is it something that you see growing in the first month and then maybe stabilizing over the next couple of months? Maybe if Venkat or Gnanesh or Nikita could take this up.
So I
Gnanesh would
think
like to give this. Okay, yeah, Venkat, go ahead, please.
yeah. So there are a few things that you can measure, right? I'm going to start with Amazon first, then I'm going to move on to, let's say, your website or anything as such. So Amazon gives you something called advertising cost of sales. So one thing for sure is if you want your game to move on Amazon, because there's so many products, you will need to advertise. So there is a cost involved in it, right? I think Gnanesh mentioned this before also, that it's about 20 to 40%. I think initially when you see the first 2 or 3 weeks after your game is listed, especially on Amazon, make sure that your listings are great. Some things I think a lot of people miss out on is the fact that you need great pictures. There is a certain amount of investment that is there. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, your advertising cost of sales, at least this is what we saw, is somewhere around 80 to 120%, right? We're actually spending more than we are actually earning. But it gets your products out there. It might get you reviews, things like that. Then 3 weeks on, you'll find this rise where Amazon itself, um, by then you would also analyze a lot of the data that comes in. So really your growth trajectory depends on what kind of data you're analyzing. A lot of us focus on the fact that, okay, I want to sell so much, these are the places I need to be, but we don't analyze the data that comes back in. I think that is very, very important. What are the keywords people are searching for? What are the reports? And Amazon allows you to, get access to advertising reports. What kind of keywords people have been clicking on? Constantly edit that campaign, their advertising campaign that you have for, let's say, the first 3 weeks. Make sure you're picking the right keywords. Make sure you're reaching the right target audience. Are you using phrase-based searches? Are you using exact searches? What are the things that you can do in order to get that? The other aspect is you can piggyback on other products to get your product being discovered as well on Amazon, right? So that advertising bit is very, very important for that initial month. Till, I would say, if you want to put a number to it, for the first 150 products you sell on Amazon, really analyze all that data back and push yourself out there to make sure that people are discovering your product. After that, you'll find that you get a lot more organic sales apart from the efforts that you're doing. And then your advertising cost of sales, or A cost, settles around the number that Gnanesh is saying, which is around 20 to 40%, which is fine. Um, and then, of course, at some point it's going to plateau out, and you're going to, and that I think is a good time to release another SKU, because people know your brand name and stuff like that. So that's very important. On the website, on the other hand, it's a constant struggle to get people to buy on the website, right? I think that's one of the mediums that people in India are very, very reluctant to buy. I think that is directly proportional to the kind of efforts that you're doing. I think all of us over here are clearly aware that there is no dearth of market space or people willing to buy your product. India has got the numbers to to make you reach anything. You could possibly be the highest selling game on the planet simply because half of India's market in turn has bought it. So it's not, there's no limit to that. There's no plateau. But the question is discovery. How do you target the right audience? How do you target the right market? How do you target the right customer? Analyzing data is very important. I heard that a lot of people said that Google ads don't work, and yes, they don't work for maybe the first 10 ads that you put out. If you analyze the data and you see what kind of consumer behaviors are there. Like our website on Shopify gives us huge insights as to where people are clicking from, where they're coming from, what do they do, what is the customer journey. Something you can't get on offline retail is what online retail can give you, is you can track that customer journey. Use that very well and kind of pump more efforts into that way. Constantly evolve, and you will see that you you see your first, it's kind of like a slow trajectory, then it'll rise, it'll plateau again, make the tweaks, and you'll see it rise again. So it's more of like a like the rice fields. You know, there's like a drop, or there's a rise, it's flat, it's rice, flat. So those hilly rice fields that you have. So it's that kind of a graph that at least we've seen. But you need to tweak, you need to play around, you need to really analyze data, just see where all you can do. That's the main thing about online work, I would say.
That's some very good insights, and I guess it also tells all of us that one size fits all approach is not something that can work. You have to keep evolving on the core, keep ensuring that you're always tweaking, you're always looking at what data you have available. I'm going to summarize our
France, I'll
session.
just add. I
Yes,
just
yes,
want to
Gnanesh,
add
go
to
ahead,
what
please.
Venkat said. So just to again give a perspective, what I mentioned with advertising cost when I say 20 to 40%. So initially, Amazon gives us ACOS, uh, advertising cost of sales, which where it computes the advertising money spent upon the sales generated from those ads directly, and which can really go high. But what eventually I've seen is there is a correlation between your advertising spend and your normal total sales, which are not directly coming from ads. So there is a direct correlation which I've seen month by month. So if what I would suggest is also start comparing your advertising total monthly spend with the total sales, rather than because there are a lot of sales that are generated afterwards, not directly from the ad at that instant, but subsequently, which are somewhere coming out because of your increased advertisements. So if if your ACOS is, let's say, Amazon is showing 60%, but if you compare it to the total monthly sales or total advertising spend that you're doing as a brand or a company or a person, maybe if that is coming in the range of 20% or within your margins budget, that could be one perspective. Second thing, on Google Ads, I think yes, Google will definitely work, especially I think if you have your own website. Like Venkat said, Google will be very important. What I was also talking is from the point of view that if you're just starting up without your own website and are just listed on Amazon, then probably advertising on Amazon or Instagram will be more cost effective than someone, directing someone from Google to Amazon. And uh, and finally, like when we began, I started without advertisements for quite some time, and the sales picked up because the awareness was created outside the online platform, in exhibitions and here and then from where people went to Amazon. And when we started advertising, initially my ACS was only 17% or 15%. I was very happy with it. And as time passed, it went over 50%, 60% sometime, and so I think that was the thing. But what I mean is, what is important is to create awareness. Either you do paid ads or you go out and talk to people or you do events, but you have to tell people about the game. And there is no replacement for again good product images, good product itself. Because if you don't have good images, if you don't have right description, then online you can't. So I think those are the fundamental things.
Got it.
Fran,
Wonderful.
I
Thank
would
you.
like to add
Yes, yes, Nikita, please.
I would like to add that, again, to the insights, it's been really helpful for me as well. That, when you see that you're constantly working on the advertising and getting your sponsored ads out there, there's been a direct correlation where you have seen that this is working and this is how more and more people are reaching out. And it's proven where, times where I've not spent anything and just go on very low key, you would see there's actually nothing good. So, and that is regarding Amazon. I also have Dive Master on board game company. So they also, I think, keep on trying tweaking a little bit because they have their own page of Indian games. The moment they put Dive Master on their front page and like a bigger image, they also saw a lot more sales over there. So I would say that it's a constant yo-yo between the different platforms that your game is on. There would be times where suddenly there's a spike in sales on your own website, and then suddenly a spike on another website. And that is purely because of marketing or also even consumer trends, where it could be because of certain deals, certain coupons and things like that, or sales. Amazon sales is another big theme that more people then tend to be on Amazon looking for various products. And if your product shows up over there in terms of what they're searching, or it's similar to what they're searching, so that is also, that usually makes a difference as well, I feel.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually a good addition, and I believe Board Game Company as well is another platform that almost all of us as sellers have our products listed on, and they've got a particular section, in fact, that's dedicated to Indian board games. So that works out pretty well as well. So thank you to all the four panelists. I'm going to quickly share my screen and I'm going to summarize what we've gone over the last 40 odd minutes of this particular session. All right, so we spoke mainly about two different aspects. We spoke about returns and we spoke about reviews and how they contribute to the overall session. So one of the things is with returns and with mitigating returns is to ensure that your description is absolutely spot on. So how do you make your description as visual as possible? How do you ensure that it's as accurate as possible? How do you include the right images onto it? You need to also ensure that you're using the listing features that are provided by the platform to the maximum level possible. So with platforms such as Amazon, for example, that's A plus content. With Flipkart as well, there are certain factors that you could use. Even with other providers such as FirstCry or even any of the other platforms that you're listing on, uh, as far as possible, try and find out what are the features available for listing. What can you list? Can you list a video? Can you add an image itself? Add as much information as possible so that the customer gets an idea of what they're buying into. And once they get that, it's sort of easier to mitigate that risk of returns because the customer knows exactly what is it that they're buying into. Even a how to play video is something that could be very, very useful so that the customer knows exactly how the game plays and is not disappointed or doesn't have a different expectation when they receive the game. The second part that we covered was on reviews. So here there are two different types of reviews that are important from a marketplace perspective. The first one uh, is a review which is a seller review, and the second is a product review. Uh, a verified review, of course, is always better because that indicates that the customer has purchased the product, used it, and it's a real review that's been put in place. But you could also solicit non-verified reviews from people who may have purchased your product on a different platform, and you could have them put it over there. It does not harm. Uh, be patient with your reviews. That's another good piece of advice that we got from the panel. And as far as possible, use the tools that the platform gives you. So ensure, for example, that you're using the fetch reviews button once a customer has made their purchase on Amazon. And you could do this within the set window that Amazon has set. But this is a good opportunity for you to seek the customer's review so that that then adds on to the entire bucket list that you have. A very interesting piece of information came out on one of the conversations that was happening on the chat, where one of the questions was, what is the online versus offline ratio that is seen? And this is, of course, particularly for Toy Station. So what they were seeing was a 95-5 split prior to the COVID era, and post COVID, we are seeing a split of 99 to online and 1 to offline. Of course, this could vary with different other distributors, but this is something that is a trend that we've been seeing globally as well, where purchases are now starting to move online, and we are seeing more and more people who are actually believing in the online purchase process, at least in India, where people wanted to feel the product prior. There's that sort of process is now moving towards the online purchase space. So, having said that, I'd like to thank the entire panel. Thank you to Gnanesh, to Nikita, to Rakshith, and to Venkat for joining us this morning. Thank you to all of you attendees who've joined us. We've had a very, very productive session. We've spilled a little bit on our time. We are about 8 minutes post the clock, but I'm sure that it has been a very productive session for everybody who's been on this panel. And there's a lot of information that we will now take back to be able to ensure that we distribute our games much better, to set up and streamline our online distribution as well. Uh, so this was session 4, and we would have session 5 that's coming up next month. So we'd look forward to session 5 sometime in the month of October. Do share your feedback with us. For those of you who want to take a look at the past sessions, I've put them up on a Linktree link. So it's on linktr.ee/Meeple Labs, and you can access all the sessions. This session will also be available on YouTube once we're done processing it on Google. So you can expect it on YouTube by the end of this evening. Do share your feedback with us at bit.ly/Meeple Labs feedback. It'll help us to plan and develop these sessions still further. I'm also trying to set up an MS Teams subscription for future sessions. I would like to keep Meeple Labs, and this is the vision for Meeple Labs, to keep it free for the entire foreseeable future. However, there are certain costs that are involved with running it, and I do want to set up a paid MS Teams account so that we can get in as many people as possible, and also ensure that we keep recording these sessions. For those of you who'd like to contribute, I have my UPI ID out there, and you could share that. You could share any donation, big or small, with us. We'd be most grateful. Thank you to everyone, and do have a great Sunday morning, or rather Sunday afternoon. And thank you for spending your morning with us. Truly appreciate it. And panel, I'd like to personally thank you as well. Again, thanks very much for sharing all your insights with us. With that, I'd like to say goodbye and have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Franz. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Franz.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Cheers.
Bye.